Welcome to Fire and Life Talk, transforming a world one heart at a time.
Hello and welcome to another great episode of Fire and Life Talk. I'm your host, Pastor Gary, and I'm thrilled to be with you today. And we just want to greet all our viewers, our new viewers and our subscribers and everything. We just want to say thank you and supporting the Fire and Life International Ministries. And if you want to know more about us, you can go to fireandlife.org. So if you want to be a guest on the show, hey, get in touch with us. And we can make that happen. I say that reluctantly because never mind. Anyway, so we just appreciate everyone out there. And, you know, today we have another awesome show for you. And the title of the show is How to Make Your Marriage Bulletproof. And we got an awesome couple today. Chad and his wonderful wife, Lanell, will be with us. They have a miraculous journey, and hopefully we'll get to share all of it. We were talking before the show, and we already know it's going to be a part 2. So, but we're going to tune in today for part 1. But before we get to that, y'all know how it go. I got to bring in my friend, my co-host, my wife, my good thing, according to Proverbs 18:22. He that finds a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Oh, yeah. Hey, babe.
Hello.
I'm sitting up here talking about you and forgot to bring you to the platform.
I'm always here.
Yeah, now that's real talk, y'all. She's always there. Amen. So how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to be empowered and equipped today. So what can you tell us about the show?
Oh, well, you're going to get right into it, huh? I wanted to give you some more compliments, but you want to get right into it. Let's get right into it.
That's right.
Today, our guest, again, as I said before, is Chad and Lanell. And so whether you've been married, in a serious relationship, or an individual looking to develop the right skills before tying the knot, Chad and Lanell offers coaching services to help build a bulletproof marriage. This story will be incredible and benefit to all of our viewers today and whoever watches it later on. So let's give a warm welcome to Chad and Lanell.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I can say, what's going on, fam?
Yeah, what up, fam?
Right.
I love it. I know that's right. We fam now.
Yeah, we fam now. Y'all, we did a segment before we even went live. So
That's right.
Yeah, that's why we bring in all this energy. So we just thank you for coming on the platform, taking the time off. And, you know, I was sharing with them before the show. I said that the first thing that attracted us is their branding. And, you know, they dressed down today and I love it. I love it. Yeah. Bulletproof Marriage. And so we're going to get right into this thing. Our first segment, we're going to talk about using struggle to elevate your life and relationship. And that is so important because sometimes that's where people give up, is in the struggle. So if you would, you guys have an awesome story we read in your bio, which attracted us even more. So tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's see. I met Chad when I was 14 in high school. And at that time, it really wasn't popular for a young lady, to be dating a Caucasian man or young man, excuse me. Well, in the town that we lived in, it was popular. Just the town we lived in was small, and they were like, no, you should be going after, one of these fine young black men over here. And I was like, cool. I was like, yep, I'm into it. Sure.
So she met me.
Until I met him. And I actually was trying to hook him up with a few of the young ladies in school. I was trying to be like a little matchmaker. And I was like, hey, whichever one you want, let me know. I got you. And he was like, no, thank you. And I was like, that's different. I was like, that's real different. And then we had biology together. And that's when we just got to know each other. We just became good friends. And that's when I kind of like found out more about this mysterious young man that was really quiet into himself. And I was like, oh, you got a lot of issues going on in life. Oh, wait, the whole situation in your life.
That's why I wasn't worried about those girls. The only reason I was at her school was my home had been raided by the police. My mom was sent to prison. I was sent to live with family in Oklahoma. I was abused for about 18 months. So I ran away, came back to where I'm from in Virginia. They would not allow me to be the school I was in because of all the mess that had happened around my family. So they sent me to her school. So the last thing that was on my mind was making friends with anybody there. Going on in my head, and so, yeah.
But it always worked out like it was supposed to, because we remained friends, and there were a lot of times when we didn't see each other, but it would be like some random place that we just both be at. So we just connected, and the next thing you know, I said, well, I ain't listen to nobody. I'm an adult now. I date who I want to. And so here we are. Okay, we rekindled, and we've been together since. Been together since. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
so great. That's awesome. And see, Chad, that wasn't in the bio, so you done threw me like, whoa.
Yeah, I didn't.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, my whole life has been crazy. But because like if I just talk about my upbringing, that's a whole story in and of itself. And I try not to get lost in that. Those things developed me, and they definitely were things I had to deal with throughout. And honestly, when we talk about our marriage, we'll talk about those things because those are the things that came up that I had to deal with in order to make this thing work. So
that's right.
Right. Definitely. Well, I tell you what, again, I know we're going to do a part 2, but in this moment, can you share one of the significant struggles you faced early in your marriage and how it impacted your relationship?
Well, the first one's man, we have so many.
The story you want to hear.
Well, there's two. Yeah. When I first came to the school, she was talking about how it wasn't okay for a black woman and a white guy to be together, and you could switch the roles. It didn't matter. Black and white shouldn't be dating, and it was a very small town. The year before was race riots. They had the SWAT team in there gassing kids, like it was bad. So I came into an environment that was already hostile. I was on probation, and the reason that we couldn't date was because if I was constantly having run-ins with all the young men that wanted to date her, but she wouldn't date, and because I was white, that was a problem. So now I had the whole school basically wanting to fight me. So basketball games in the alleys, we were, challenging each other, and I was on probation. And so instead of me going back to jail, she was just like, all right, we're going to just remain friends.
Yep.
And we'll stay in touch. And so that was like the first real hurdle we had to get over is that, because even when she turned 18, people were still side-eyeing. If you're from a small town, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody knows and everybody's got an opinion and, that type thing. But then I think the biggest one after that was when I joined the military, because we had only been married a year. And, we had just had our daughter, our second child. And here I go. And nobody wanted me to join the military. Nobody.
Our family, friends, everybody was saying how negative it would be.
Yeah.
The war kicked off. The war.
Yeah.
He's not in the right headspace. Like, he could be negative, nothing positive. My thought was he has a bucket list that we created before we got married, and it was on the bucket list. So I'm like, if you go do this for 3 years, check it off, we can keep life moving. but it was the best decision for us because it really did start to transition how we were going to live our life now. It really did. We didn't see that then, but it was the best experience we could have chosen because we were so confined with what our friends and our family were telling us how to live our life that we didn't know how to break away from them. So then moving by ourselves to a whole nother state, with no finances, we got 2 small kids. We had to rely on each other. We had to say, this is our, and it was really
so
hard.
I mean,
because my ego was so big, okay, that we were fighting every day because I was just upset that my whole life changed. You take me away from my friends, my family. You got me with these 2 kids in a state. I got nobody. Now we ain't got no finances.
And I'm always gone.
He's always gone.
Always.
So now my whole life is shifted. I was like, I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. What do they even do? Like, that's where my mind was.
Yeah.
And I just could never see the positive. I didn't see the positive in just having the opportunity just to be home and just to be a mom and just to be a wife. And I don't mean like when I say the word just to be, but I just meant just to be in that space in that moment. And I didn't see it. So I was making life very difficult. And when you don't know yourself, that's another thing, right? I was a kid. I was 22 years old with 2 children. So and a newly married.
And let me interject real quick. When I say like the military was the best thing, but in that moment, and this is what I want everybody to hear.
Yeah.
There's 2 types of good things in life. There's the good thing that comes right away, but then it turns bad over time. And then there's the thing that it starts really hard, right? It's really tough.
Yeah.
But over time, it's something that becomes sweeter and sweeter and better and better. And it actually is beneficial towards our life. Most of the time we choose the first one, which is it's good now and bad later. But we didn't do that. And it was very hard financially. If you were in the military, so you already know, like in E1 makes nothing, peanuts, right? It's peanuts. Now you got 2 kids. We couldn't even pay for diapers at some point, right? We were on WIC. We had all that, and we still couldn't pay for diapers. Yeah. So, it was a very challenging time.
Yeah.
But through that, I found who I was. She found who she was.
Yeah.
It gave us the ability to be who we are, like my wife said. So I just wanted to point that out. Just because it was hard in the beginning doesn't mean it wasn't the best thing for us. It truly was.
It truly was.
Right. Exactly.
So
there's a lot there. But Chad, what branch were you in?
Army.
I want to take this time to say thank you for your service, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you for yours.
Yeah. Sometimes, I'll do it all over again. Sometimes we don't realize that even though we're in the military, they say, hey, you got all these benefits and all that, but sometimes it can be a struggle. And we let people know that and support your military.
Right.
Because we go through a lot of things mentally, physically, and then sometimes we have to fight for our benefits and things of that nature. So thank you, Chad. Also, too, with the 2 of you being young, you still had a lot of, let's go back. Another thing, by the grace of God, and we're thankful, we have a lot of viewers overseas. But what this couple is explaining is part of the United States history, with racism and things of that nature. The differences sometimes we focus on, and I know other nations, that I can think of, have those same disparities. But this is one of the things that's unfortunately a foundation of American history. So again, I want to thank you for pushing through. Thank you for pushing through. And it just shows like when we make up our mind in our hearts that no matter what those voices, whether they're close friends, close family, or whatever, we're going to push through and make it happen.
Yeah. And let me say that something on this is kind of goes back to what I was saying about how something starts off hard but becomes really good. I don't look back and say, I wish that never happened. I'm actually thankful for every struggle.
Me too.
If it wasn't for these things, we wouldn't be the couple that we are. I wouldn't know who I am. So when you look at your own experience, whoever's watching, wherever you're from, try to find the good that came out of the bad. I think too often we try to find the bad in the bad, and that's always visible. It's always visible.
It's always there. Yeah, that's easy.
A sliver of hope, then you can start seeing that there was a lot more good than bad. And if it wasn't for that hardship, you wouldn't be who you were. Things wouldn't have lined up the way they are. Right. So there's a lot of blessings that come out of these hardships.
Yes, definitely. You know, we share all the time that, you know, they say, oh man, Gary and Gina, y'all doing so good. Da, 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 da. Man, we was homeless together, you know, with 3 kids, and we moved from couch to couch with our family. And we ended up in one of them extended stay hotels. There's 5 of us in one room, you know, with a burner and no jobs. But God came through for us, you know, in miraculous ways. But in that moment, you can't, you know, you don't always see that.
Right.
See that. But what it did in that little room brought all 5 of us together.
Yes.
Our kids' grades never slipped. You know, we talk about that experience now, and they say, well, Dad, you know, we were young, but we just realized that's what we were going to do. But y'all kept us positive. We made it to school. And again, the grades didn't slip or anything. So we're thankful for it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're thankful for it. And then all the other things that we had went through together. So again, thank you, Chad, for coming back and making that plain. So because we're all going to go through challenges. That's part of why we have this show. So share the challenges, and then they have great smiles, you know, like you guys are full of energy, like boom, 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 you know. Play out. The days do get better.
They do.
You gotta work certain things harder than other ones. Gina, I know you had a question. I'm sorry for holding you up.
Yes, I did. You know, I'm just curious, and I'm sure the other viewers are. What kind of strategies that you use through these struggles?
You know, I'll be honest. I think the first thing that we had to do was find who we were.
Yeah.
See, this is the part that I'm not here to sell anybody a bill of goods. I'm not here to sell a dream that isn't real. Okay, I'm gonna give it to y'all real. Okay, and
Chad,
what had to happen was I had to fix me.
Let me interrupt you. Keep your thought, Chad. I wanted to interrupt you. Chad just used a term that we use in the military. I'm living the dream. Somebody say, "How you doing?" They say, "I'm living the dream." So I had to throw that in there, man. Go ahead.
Living the dream or dreaming to live, right? But you know, look, I hear a lot of people trying to sugarcoat and paint these pictures. Like there's these strategies, right? Just if you do this, everything's gonna be gravy. And I'm here to tell you, you're gonna still have bad days even when you got good strategies, right? What I will say is what we did is we began to focus on the inside of us individually, right? I can learn all the strategy, and I bet you some people are listening that have taken courses. Maybe it's not in marriage, it's something different, right? Until you are ready to receive these things, which means you have to do that inner works. There has to be some humbling. There has to be some things that get moved out the way. Until that happens, people can give you the secret sauce all day long and still not going to work for you.
Right.
So
that's right.
That was the first thing.
Yep.
The second thing is then we became friends again, because here's what happened. We started off as friends, the hardship hits, and then it didn't feel like we were friends anymore, right? It felt like I was in a contract in the Army again, but with a woman that I can't get away from because it's too expensive to get rid of her, right? That's how I felt at some points, right? I'm like, man, this is too expensive. I can't. All right, so we're stuck. But once I find out me, then all of a sudden this friendship starts to get rebuilt.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna give y'all the greatest thing that we truly learn how to do, and that's shift.
Yes.
We learn how to shift. Yeah. And when I say shift, if you look up the definition of shift, there's a few, but if you scroll down, it's like the third or fourth one. It says to change your focus. Okay. And so what we learn how to do is to put our focus on what was important, on what we needed, what really needed our focus, instead of on the little things, because up to this point, we're bickering about things that don't matter. That's right. Things that, and every couple knows this. We just get lost in the stuff that doesn't matter. Oh, you folded your socks sideways, and you know, the next thing you know, you're fighting for 6 days because of some socks that were folded wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
Our focus was in all the wrong places. So once we could do the work within, then we could start becoming friends again and start enjoying this.
Yes.
Now the principle of, hold on, where's my focus? And that simple change of putting my focus where it needs to be rather than on the things that don't matter shifted everything.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm really honored. I'm glad you said that, because those small things is really an expression of something else that's happening deep inside.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
To focus on them small things.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you should be saying, man, what you said 6 days. I mean, man, y'all was getting it in.
Oh. Very days be months. Yeah. It'll be months over something. And we look back now like, that was so
I didn't talk to her for a month.
I know, over this thing. Yeah.
So another thing, our viewers are tuning in and asking these questions, and I can tell some of them have been reading the teaser. So I'm like, cool, they're getting way ahead of us, but we can display that. And you just mentioned like some of the advice. You gave some advice, but before we go to commercial, can you take, I'm gonna say, look at each other like I'm in counseling. Tell us what is some of the biggest advice you can give of keeping a marriage strong?
You work on you.
Work on you.
Yeah.
What Jesus say? Jesus said you can don't worry about the plank, the speck in his eye. Pull the plank out of your own.
Yeah.
Our partner is a reflection of us.
Yes.
Okay.
Come on, man.
If you're looking at them and you're like, oh, you don't do this, you're just seeing a reflection of yourself.
Yes.
So if you want to change the relationship, the first thing you have to do is change you.
That's it. We have to examine ourselves. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm always in awe of him. I'm his biggest fan. I'm always like, no.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, I said we're gonna go to commercial. We're gonna go to commercial. But one of the greatest things a woman can do is speaking to her man.
Yes.
Even when you don't see it in the worst situation, baby, you cold-blooded. Baby, you can do it. I got your back. I don't care what they do out there, but when you come home, I prepared a sanctuary for you, a place where you can be peaceful and take off your armor and all that stuff. Let's take a commercial break. Don't forget.
All right.
We'll be right back.
What's happening, y'all? I don't know if you've ever seen a walking tree. This is actually called a walking tree because these are the roots that come from up high, not down on the ground. They grow into the ground. They're both on both sides of the tree. And if the tree wants to move this way, the roots in the back die, and then it grows out more roots in the front. And the only way the tree can move forward is if the roots in the back die, and it grows more roots in the front, and then the tree moves in that direction. The only way you're going to be able to walk with God and move forward with God is if your roots behind you die. Your old relationships, your old connections, your old views of yourself, they have to die in order for you to move forward. And then you grow new roots in the direction that God wants you to go. The Bible says if anyone's in Christ, the old is gone and the new has come. So let go of these old roots, let go of these old ideas, these old relationships, these old perceptions, and start moving forward and reaching out forward to apprehend what Christ has apprehended for you, to become the person He created you to be.
Welcome back to Fire and Life Talk. I am your host, Pastor Gary, my co-host, Pastor Gina. I'm talking real fast because we want to get back to our guests, Chad and Lanell. Man, they've been setting the show on fire. We may go do part 2 next week. We schedule somebody next week. Well, we get them a call. I don't know. It's going to work out. So let's get back into it. I'll tell you what. Let me get to some of these comments because, I mean, they hot today. Let's see. Okay, so who is this? The Grown-Up's Guide to Running Away from Home. Surviving the trials of war and addiction is no small feat. What strategies did you recommend couples facing similar challenges?
Oh, we got that too.
That's all right. You know, I'm always going to go back to working on yourself because the addiction isn't going to go away until you do that work, right? Yeah. Remaining best friends is a very powerful strategy, and it's easier said than done. But and we can go, and I know we'll go into that. But it's you have to be patient, you have to love, and I think the biggest thing is you have to continue to choose them every day, despite the struggle, right? Like when I got out of the military, I spent a decade in the military and I was injured in Iraq. I come back, they medically retired me and I started having nightmares and I had all these issues with my body and I started drinking. I was drinking a fifth of whiskey just to go to sleep. Just to go to sleep. Yeah. A day. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I became so dependent on that. You know, it's pure love that keeps somebody coming back every day when somebody's a hot mess like I was, right?
Yeah.
I think you have to continue to see who they really are. Yeah. That's not them. Right. They're facing some things.
Yep.
And those things right now are getting the best of them.
Yes.
Okay. But you can give up in round 1 and 2. Or you can be a champion and see it through to the final bill, right? And that's what she did. And because she continued to believe in me, kind of like what Pastor Gary was saying, she continued to believe, continued to speak in me, continued to be there for me. Even when I showed myself ugly and not worthy to love, she continued to love and continued to see who I really was.
Right.
And then I had to get tired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of being tired.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Her love can't change me.
Right.
I have to change me. Too many people looking for somebody else to do it for them. You can't stop putting it on somebody else. You got to do the work. And so I had to do the work. So you can't escape that.
Right.
But as a couple, you just have to continue to reinforce the good in them, right?
And just so grace is like the key to this, because there were a lot of moments where you see good, like he's doing good, right? And then he might fall. I have to give him grace for that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm asking for him to do for me. Because even though I may not have an addiction like his, right, that doesn't mean that I don't fall short in areas also that I need him to give me grace and mercy for. So therefore, if God gives me grace and mercy every single day, I need him as my counterpart to do the same thing. And at the end of the day, I want to show that to him. I want to reciprocate in our marriage the same thing we want from each other. So therefore, if I'm asking for him to do something for me, I need to do it for him. And I think when you decide to do that in your marriage, and always remember, I tell him this all the time, why do we always give our friends and our family passes? We will give them way more passes than we will our own spouse. You change that around, okay? You give your spouse just as much passes as you would your family or friends. The outcome of your relationship will look 10 times better than it did in your friendship and your family. Because I'm not really worried about having a relationship with my mama and my daddy and anybody else outside of this, because at the end of the day, I chose him. And I choose him every single day. So when you choose your partner every single day, it just comes around. And then you know what? Then when they see that you're giving them grace and mercy, it gives them another energy, a boost, right? To continue to say, okay, the next day, you know what? I may have failed, but I'm gonna get back up and I'm gonna try again. And I'm gonna do it again. And I'm gonna do it again. And then the more that they see that you got their back, the more they see that you love them through their mess, the more that they'll be able to conquer this. And I think that that's a big thing. When I heard a story about a gentleman that was alcoholic, and for years, people, his friends and family, everybody was just disrespectful and, telling him what to do. And then all of a sudden, he had somebody love him, right? Just met him, but love him in his mess. Drunk and all, fell asleep on him. What did he do? He said, "Why did you do that for me? You're a stranger." He said, "Because I just see you as a divine. I love you for who you are." And that's
Amen.
it. He stopped drinking after that, and all the money he was spending for his alcohol, right, for his addiction, he took and gave that to a school. So it's just the little things. If you would show love, right, just genuine love, you would see a difference in someone.
And I want to point something out too. She said showing them love a lot. Look, if you're like in my case, I'm drinking every night because I'm trying to run from something. I'm hurt, right? And I don't know the answer. If I knew the answer, this would be an issue, right? Obviously, I'm turning down some wrong roads to find the peace that I'm looking for. And so you have to understand that this is a cry for help and a cry for them trying to find their way. It's not because they're trying to hurt you. They're hurting.
Right.
And hurt people hurt people. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
Right. You have to be able to look beyond that. Right. And then be flexible with their progression. Be flexible. The plans, they might come up with a plan to quit drinking or quit smoking or whatever they're doing. And it might be going and then it doesn't work. So then they might come up with something else. And you just like a palm tree, just flexible. And the storm won't break you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, this is so great. This is an awesome couple that have been through a lot. So they're not just talking about something they read in the book. They're talking about what they lived through.
Yes.
The strength that the Lord gave them to make it through. But it's not always easy. But I love the way you guys are interjecting how you focused on things.
Yes.
You know, and then how you brought it back to one-on-one. You mentioned about the family. You know, I too, Chad, we didn't talk about this before the show, but I went through an addiction for several years. But my wife stood in, but sometimes she got weary, you know, and she depended on prayer. And one time I remember, I hope you don't mind if I tell the story, but, you know, it's just real talk. And I don't think I've talked about this on the show in this depth. But one time we left home at the same time. I'm going to the crack house. She going to church. And she cried and prayed all the way. So when she came through the doors, everyone was concerned. And there were some people that said, "Hey, you need to leave that, you know, you know, you can find better, rah, 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 rah." But we had mentors in our life. And this one particular mentor pulled her to the side and said, "Keep praying, baby. God hears your prayer. Keep praying, baby. He gonna come out of it. He gonna do this. He's gonna do that. You know, stay focused on the purpose and the vision that God has given you, not only as individuals, but as a couple. And we need that." I had one of her cousins saying, "Hey, you know, since you've been in the family," they call me Big G. "Hey, Big G, since you've been in the family, I've seen you fall several times, but you know what? I like the way you got up."
That's right.
I felt like Superman. I felt like Superman. It reminded me, but yeah, I can get up in the middle of my mess.
That's
so
right.
I appreciate y'all sharing that with us, because there's so many dynamics to life.
Right.
Yes.
That, you know, it's times like this, like as you guys are sharing, it took me back to say, you know what? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
And because another thing, and Gina, I know you got a question, but I want to share this. One thing that same mentor said, and it made us realize that people come into your life for a reason. But what we have to realize is some is for a season.
Yes.
And some is for a lifetime.
That's right.
Yeah, and we have to distinguish that. But go ahead, baby.
Well, I just want to talk about, you know, you guys have such a great bond, and I see the friendship in your marriage. Could you tell us what the importance is of the friendship that you have?
It's everything.
It is everything to us. I remember at our worst, I told him, like, and at this time we were talking about divorce like every day. I said, "I will divorce you, but you're still my friend at the end of this."
Wow. That's what I'm talking about.
Else. I said, "I will divorce you, but we will be friends at the end of this. We will raise our kids together as friends.
That's right.
We will live our life together as friends." I even said, "Hey, you can move downstairs to the basement. We'll fix it up. You be down there. I'll be up here. We have the kids." Like, nothing is going to break up our friendship, because at the end of the day, when I looked at him in the worstest moments of I saw my friend. And that's what kept me going. That's what kept me saying, okay, this is not
Yeah.
the person I'm looking at right now is not who I married. This is not the person I say I was going to spend the rest of my life with, but my friend behind that, behind this mysterious face I'm seeing right now and the way that you're acting, that's my friend. So I got to get to that person right now. And when I get to that person, whatever this is showing up right now at my door, that's belief. And eventually over time, that's what showed up. My friend showed up. And same thing with me. As I say, I'm not going to sit here and say just because, you know, I may not have an alcoholic addiction in my marriage doesn't mean that therefore he didn't deal with my issues, my mood swings, me not knowing myself, you know, me being overly stressed with 4 kids, just him always being gone and me being the one holding it all down, him getting the motorcycle accident and me having to take care of the 4 kids, the 5 dogs, him, you know, still working, all of that. So he had to endure a lot too, but it just looks different. I think that a lot of times you got to stop comparing to like what you're going through to what your spouse is going through. Oh, this seems to be a little harder. Oh, I'm going through this. No, you both are going through together.
Yeah. That's right.
It's not his unique. We all on an individual journey. Don't get me wrong. We all came in this world by ourselves and we leave at the by ourselves, but we decided to choose this journey together.
And I want to say about this friendship thing, right? Because this is something that I think we do wrong in a lot of relationships. All right, so if you notice, most couples, they're married, and then they got friends, their best friend over here, their cousins, and these are the people they hang out with. And the wife or the husband is just the person that they got to like raise kids with and like maybe go to church on Sunday with. And, oh, yeah, I got to do a date night every once in a while. It's like a chore, right? Yeah. But your friends, that's your escape. Yeah. Why is that important? Because if she's my best friend, then I have my escape right beside me.
Right in the house. Yeah.
And all the things that are out. All right. So when you searching for your friends out there, whatever's out there is going to affect what's happening inside your marriage.
That's right.
If I don't have to seek that, then I can just go do life and experience life with my best friend. It makes things so much easier. And I've done this. We have both searched for things outside of this marriage, and it always fails. It always leaves you high and dry, or there's an influence of some sort that influences or affects our relationship in the long term. So it's not healthy. I'm not saying you can't have friends outside your relationship.
Right.
Your best friend should be your spouse, period. Hands down. You shouldn't have to search for that connection outside of them.
That's right.
Yeah. I think some of us have that innate nature to do that. When something's not working, in this sense, when something's not working, we're looking for something better. I think maybe where that saying says the grass is not greener on the other side.
It's not.
That's right.
But people constantly look. You mentioned about divorce. Not that you was advocating divorce, but you said, let's look at the worst situation. Even if we broke up, this is going to be this is going to be that, and that's what we're going to do it.
Yes.
You know? So I just wanted to make that clear. You're not advocating divorce, but these things come up in the relationship.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
This
is time to share this story. I forget how long we were married, but man, one weekend we was going at it. The whole weekend, you know, we going at it. And then finally I said, you know what? Come Monday, I'm going to the courthouse and we're going to dissolve this thing. We're going to take care of it. And my baby said, well, tell me what time you want to go because I'll drive you.
Yes.
And we did. We did just what we're doing now, laughing because I like, oh man, baby, that was a good one. That was a good one. What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was a good one. So you know, humor a lot of times will break up all of that animosity, all of that.
Yes.
But the foundation, and sometimes it sounds so cheesy, but we have to build on the foundation of love. And within that foundation of love, I love the way you guys are pounding home. You have to be friends. You have to be friends. And I've heard, you know, in counseling, like, well, I love her, Pastor, but I can't stand her. Wait, what?
Right. Yeah. And that's real. Like I there's so many people that may love their spouse, but they don't like them.
Right.
They really do not like that. And I really like him.
Yeah.
I really just like everything about him. And the things that I'm even like, oh, that kind of get on my nerves. I'm like, but I would rather have that, him getting on my nerves and whatever he's doing, than not have him at all.
That's right.
I had a guy in my life. He was kind of like a brother. He was married to this other girl, and she was a mess, right? He was a neat freak, and she would throw her clothes all over the place, right?
Hate it.
And man, it drove him nuts, right?
Yeah.
And one day he had like this epiphany, and we worked together. And so he came to me, and we were just talking. He was like, you know what I realized, Chad? He was like, is that if I didn't have to pick up her clothes every morning and put them in the hamper, I wouldn't have her in my life. And I'd rather have her. Yeah. So I'll take the clothes on the floor.
That's right.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. That's the shift in your mindset that you have to have in order for this thing to last. I mean, we preach this all the time. You want a 40-year marriage, you have to do what 40-year marriages do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And I mean stuff. We've heard a lot of things, and I'm pretty sure we're going to hear more like throughout the counseling and stuff. Pastor, I just don't like the way he chew. What? Well, the brother got to eat, so we got to work this out.
What's crazy is for me is what I've tried to share with people is like, hold on. So did you not ever go out to eat with them?
Right.
So did they just change the way that they chewed when you got married? Like I be trying to understand like some of these questions. I'd be like, hold on. So did you not know that about them prior to getting married?
Yeah.
Hey, and we didn't actually live together before we got married. We actually waited till we came back from the honeymoon. So we left from our parents' home, got married, left the church, went to the honeymoon, came back, and it was all new. And that was very scary. There was a lot of things that we did not know about each other, right? Because we didn't live with each other prior to getting married that we had to get through. But the little minute things that people talk about nowadays when they break up, I just be looking at them like, you lived with them before you got married. So how now all of a sudden this is annoying to you, or how all of a sudden this is what's going to break you off?
Yeah. I tell you what, we're with Chad and Lanell, and they have a coaching program, a coaching business. They're coaches, My Bulletproof Marriage, and we have it up on the screen. Please visit it, make appointments. I'm pretty sure we didn't check, but you do like virtual.
Yeah. Most of ours is virtual.
Yeah, so I want to encourage you to get in touch with them, or hey, maybe your relationship tight, but your neighbors ain't, or your cousins not. So turn them on to the show, turn them on to Chad and Lanell, and because we want to promote this. And I got some ideas. We're going to talk afterwards, but I know my baby got another question. But hold on. Let me say this about our marriage. And we've learned that a lot of people don't understand why they were brought together, or was like, oh, I think he's cute, or I think she's fine, or whatever, and start dating, and you still got that newness and all that. Everything is good, and then the marriage hit, and things just got real. Mm-hmm. And that's the way we were, and we didn't have an understanding of our purpose individually and as a couple. So one day we was in church. This is a long story. I'm gonna shorten it up. One day we were in church. We actually broke up and moved to different states, and we have that Oklahoma connection, Chad.
Yes.
We moved to different states, and I didn't know where the kids were at for probably 10 days, and I ended up homeless as an individual. Let me throw that in there too. So it was a journey. We was going on 2 different journeys. And so I went to this church, and as over the months, as we start reconciling, she came down to a church service, and like in the middle of the service, the preacher had to stand up and say, you know what? I don't know everything about you guys, but the Lord told me to tell you the reason why that you're going through so much in your marriage is that it's for the kingdom of God. That's why you're attacked so much, and that it's a covering on both of you, that you'll be able to talk to other couples along the way and help them out. And that cleared our minds, like, okay, we have a purpose. This is why we together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then this was the most powerful part. He decreed on our marriage that divorce is not an option.
That's right.
I love it.
I love that.
Yeah, divorce is not an option. And like I shared the story before that, we tried.
That's several times.
Yeah, we tried that decree, that law in the spirit realm.
Yes,
has to be honored. Yeah,
Yes.
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah. So how, you guys have a nice friendship and everything. How did that evolve over the years? How did it get stronger? And
It's like a sweet nectar.
Yeah, it's like a sweet nectar, right? And it just gets sweeter and sweeter every time you bite it.
I love that.
I love it.
The struggle.
Yeah.
Honestly, the struggles. Because all right. So I was still in the military. I was injured though. I was still recovering, and our daughter, right before that.
I was let's go back.
That.
So we were in the middle of divorcing. We were separated. He had went to Iraq, and I was in Virginia where I lived at. I had our 2 kids, and we were like, you know what? Yeah, I think we're done. We're just gonna go separate ways. Keep it moving. And the next thing you know, he came back from Iraq, and then I got sick. I ended up with meningitis. And I had lost some of my vision, and I was paralyzed from my legs down. And so the Red Cross had got Chad to come and take care of the kids and help while I was getting better. And I did, obviously. And so it got better. And before he left to go back to Germany, we had a moment. And then our 3rd child was created. And that we were like, okay, God, this is a sign. Like, we're not supposed to divorce. So we called that off, and we ended up, me and the older 2 moved back to Germany to be with Chad. And it was like 4 months later, our daughter had a stroke in Germany.
Whoa, wow.
At the age of 5 years old.
Yeah, she was 5 and she was pregnant.
I was pregnant with our son.
And that was, I'm telling you, when I talk about stress, never in my life have I been under so much crazy stress, because this is a long story. So I'm trying to speed through this, but basically our daughter gets misdiagnosed at the first hospital, and she has to be air vac'd with only a few hour window to do emergency surgery, or she's going to die because her brain is swollen. And so we get to this other place in Germany, and, she has the surgery. She comes out, and as soon as she comes out of the surgery, she goes into labor.
No, not right away.
Not right, but I'm saying like a couple of days. I mean, I mean, pretty much not too long after, then she gives birth. So I have a daughter in ICU, and I have my oldest son in that room, and then I have my wife giving birth in another room, and I'm like, what is going on? And then we were separated because my daughter needed to go to America to Walter Reed, but we just had a baby. Germany's not going to let you fly without a passport and papers and all the things that are required. He got dual citizenship, which is pretty cool. At the end of the day, now we're separated. She's in a foreign country. She's stuck on a military base in Christmas. Everybody's on Exodus leave. And she has a newborn, and now they're forcing her to clear the base by herself. And
they didn't force me.
Oh, not.
They just kind of said, like, hey, we want to throw this out to you. Do you think you could clear the base? We will give you permission to clear the base for your husband, since the circumstance, if your daughter having to leave. They were like, or what'll happen is you will go ahead and leave. They were like, eventually you will leave. They were like, we'll get your orders together. They were like, but Chad's going to have to come back here to go ahead and what's that called? Clear the base. And I was like, oh, well, I'm already here. I don't want him to have to come back to Germany if he doesn't need to. So I'll do it. And I was like, wait, this is Christmas. Like, nobody's here. Everybody left. And I was like, and I need to get to America as soon as possible to be with our daughter. And they were like, well, here you go. Here's the paperwork. Figure it out. And I did. It was the grace of God that I was able to get all the paperwork signed. I got everything cleared. I made it to America. Saw our daughter. She then was having another surgery, and we lived in the hospital.
Because I was in a hospital while she was I was just in a hospital with a bag, and we had to take our oldest son and with family and let him live with family so he could have some type of normalcy in his life. And during that process, I'll try to speed this up, because during that process, that's when we really learned how to shift. Like we talked about how to change our focus. We learned how to come together, because before this, just to remind everybody, we were talking about divorce.
Yes.
Like, things were still a little sketchy on the love aspect of this thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then all of this takes place, and we realized how insignificant the issues that we were creating were.
Yes.
They weren't really issues. And through us having to work together, we started to like each other.
Yeah.
And then we started to regain that friendship, like, oh man, we're on the same team, and I think that problems in our life sometimes get us looking at each other like we're not on the same team, but we're on the same team. And so that's what we learned. And through that, we just allowed every experience after that to make it sweeter.
That's right.
And better. And that's why we don't look at problems as problems.
Yeah.
Everything is God. Everything is God. All right.
Yeah.
Life does not take us where we want to go. It takes us where we need to go. And if we would allow ourselves to go with life or God, whatever you want to call them, right? Or call it or whatever, right? If you could just go with that and flow, your life would be so much better.
Yes.
And that's what we had to learn.
Yeah. We are the ocean is all of this, right? And we are waves in the ocean. So just flow. Just flow. And you start just doing that, you will see that there's nothing that you can actually do to change the way that the path of your journey is supposed to be. You can't do one thing. But the moment that you say, I let go and I'll just flow with it, this all happens for you, not to you, but happens for you. And when it happens for you, it's just sweeter. And that's why we always say that nectar just gets sweeter and sweeter, because you're just flowing with life and you're allowing God, the divine, everyone, to just let everything orchestrate the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. That is
I love it.
Out of all the shows we've done, there's only 2 others that I've become a viewer, and you guys go deep in what you've gone through and sharing. In that moment, I became a viewer.
Oh, thank you.
I'm like, oh my goodness, how old were you when you were in Germany experiencing all this?
20. Yeah, so I was like 25. So I think I was like 25 years old when at that time. And our oldest, I think, was he's like 8.
Was he 8?
I think he was 8.
Oh yeah, she was 5.
Yeah, she was 5, and our daughter was 5. And then, like I said, and then we got pregnant again. So we finally got our daughter Kate. They said, you're released from the hospital. She'll just have therapy 5 days a week. We said, okay, got you. I delivered my son in Germany. He got diagnosed with autism, and he was nonverbal for almost 7 years of his life. And then we got pregnant again, not that shortly after, our 4th child. And they diagnosed him with autism, but on a different spectrum. So he would scream for 4 to 5 hours a day. He didn't know how to control his emotions. So he would just hit and go off. And it was a lot. And, it was a lot of therapy. It was a lot of patience. And in that's where God showed me patience. He gave me kids to show me this is when you ask for patience, I'm going to give it to you. And I'm like, oh, this is what this is like. I appreciate that. I need this. I didn't always have that when my kids were younger, because I was still very young. But the more kids I had, the more patience I learned. And I was just watching, like I said, every single time, like that's a lesson. I just reframed my mind, like, oh, this is a lesson. Thank you for teaching me that. Thank you for explaining. I always tell my kids that today. I'm like, oh no, what is that? They're like, they don't want to say it. They're like, this is a lesson. I'm like, it's a lesson, baby. It's a lesson to strengthen you, because you're going to need this later. You might not know it now, but you can need it later.
And I'm going to tell you this, too. When you have, like, because she's making this sound really, really good. We had 3 kids at the same time.
Yeah, it was.
At the same time. All 3 of them needed different things.
Yeah,
that's right.
And once we left the hospital, the Army said, oh, you still have a contract, sir. Come back to work.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm working. So she's literally holding everything together while I'm at work. And I would come home and do my part as much as I could to relieve her and give her breaks. But when it came to those kids, that was her, man. That was her all day. And what I will say is this: special need kids, they show you how to love at the deepest level.
Yeah.
Definitely.
They show you how to see God's perfection in what everyone else sees is flawed.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
that is a perspective I wouldn't trade for the world, because then once you see it there, you can see it in everything else.
Yes.
Yeah, I know going through my addictions and things. I had one of my daughters said, "You know what, Daddy, I'm gonna love you even though you don't love yourself." And there was so many different dynamics to that sentence, but I never forgot it. I tell you what, I don't want to, but we have to take a break. One of the viewers said, raising 2 children with autism must be tough. How do they manage to stay so positive and so motivated? And we're coming up to the end of the show, so we're going to run this one commercial. We come back and we're just going to let you guys flow with it. Thanks again for tuning in to Fire and Life Talk. We just thank God for these guests today. And don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to share. I promise we'll be right back. Welcome back to Fire and Life Talk. We're in our last segment. We're down to toward the end of the show. Like I said before many times, we're going to have a number 2 for sure. But yeah, the one viewer asked, how do you guys keep it positive? You know, how did you manage? You know, you guys said you had other children, but having 2 kids, two kids on the autism spectrum, and they're both on different spectrums. Give the people some encouragement and some tips and how you did it.
You know, in the beginning, it's hard.
It is.
It's real hard. But I think that you have to get to a place where you see God in everything.
In everything.
And
in everyone.
Because, you know, it's easy to say, oh, you know, things will get, I mean, hard is hard, right? Having a child scream his head off for 6 hours is not easy, no matter how mentally strong you are, right? We had to stop going to restaurants because he would just flip out. His sensory he wouldn't be able to do it. You know, it's not easy to have a child who can't articulate, can't speak, can't communicate their fears, their wants, their desires, anything. It's not easy being stared at by other people who don't understand your dynamic and your family. But that's the beauty of all of this.
Yes.
That, like, the very thing that we're sitting here talking about how we need to get over it, that is the blessing, right? Because if you can get over it, who cares what somebody else thinks?
Yes.
Right.
Come on now.
So you drop the ego, you drop your expectations of what a family is supposed to look like. And you say, God gave me this.
Right.
And this is special.
And this is
special. Yeah, this is perfect because God created it.
Yes.
Right. Like, if you can get to that place, and I'm not saying it's easy,
right.
And it takes patience and it takes a little mistake. So you got to give yourself grace. Just as much as we're talking about giving each other grace, you got to give yourself grace.
Right.
You're gonna drop the ball. You're gonna get upset. These are normal responses. And when I talk about response, and that's the other thing, you start to learn how to stop reacting and to start responding to life. And the things, you start to be able to triage what's important and what's not important in life. Like the little things, and this is only done through experience. I can sit here and tell you mine, but I promise you're going to have to go through it your own way, because I have never seen 2 autistic kids the same.
Right.
They all have different quirks. That's why it's a spectrum. So what I will say is be patient, learn to see God in everything. See that the very struggle is the very blessing that you're looking for.
Yeah. And drop your ego.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drop the ego. That's what's going to keep you right there.
Ego.
Okay. Thinking that you need to, my child needs to look like this, or my child should be at this level, or I should be doing this. Drop all that. Drop all that. Yeah. The moment that you drop that and you say, you know what? He or she's perfect. I'm perfect. We are the divine. Everything else is good. I promise you.
The very substratum of all creation is on the inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Of all creation is on the inside of you, inside of your kids,
Yes.
inside of it. You can take the label. You know what I hate? I hate labels.
We do hate labels.
I hate concepts. I hate them because it distorts the truth, right? It distorts what really is.
Yeah.
Your child not succeeding in public school because he's delayed, because he has autism or something else.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. There are people that are not delayed that go through public school and amount to nothing, right? That need additional, because public school is not the gold standard of education, right? It just isn't. And so you have to release. And when we talk about this, like releasing yourself, this is a part of it. Releasing it to God, saying, okay, this is what my path is. This is my child's path. I am blessed to be on this journey. Let me try to be a lighthouse to my kids.
That was the freest moment we had in peace, that we ended up, I would say, covering over our household and each other individually, is because we let that go. That expectation of anything. We didn't have expectations. Just let it go. Like whatever it's supposed to be is going to be, right? Whatever choice is supposed to happen, we're going to wake up every day and just see how it works. And we that go. And I just say, God, you cover all of this. God, you work on their mind. God, you touch them. I will look at you like God. You look at me like God. Then it works. If I look at you like Lanell, if I look at you like Chad, that right there's a whole mess. Whole mess. Okay. But if I look at you like God, you are the divine. You were created so perfectly from the perfect creator. Everything's perfect. Yeah. It's challenging. I wanted to say you were so right. It's not. Let me tell you something. We still 13. They're almost 14 and 13. So they're a year, the 12 months and 14 days apart. And let me tell you, they take us through. They take us through sometimes, but they teach us. And I'm always telling them, I'm like, God, you just taught me something about myself that I just realized. Thank you so much. And another thing, as a parent, please do not feel that you do not have the right to come back and say sorry when you are wrong.
That's right.
We started saying sorry to our children for the moments that we went off on them, or we went off in general. I call it an adult tantrum. When we did that, and it wasn't of them. Right? They may not have done anything to trigger that, or maybe they did do something to trigger that, and it was something I needed to see within myself, reflect that off of myself. That's all I say. They always teach me, and I say thank you for that, because I needed that moment to see where I need to work on, where I need to change. And then you're showing your children how to work this life out. Example without putting it down their throat. You just walk in it, and when you just walk in it, then all of a sudden, what you call a thermostat, we call it this thermostat in our house. Okay, and there's gonna be people, and there are gonna be things that try to come in and change that temperature, but we are so good and at peace with ourselves within here. Nothing shifts. It just stays the same.
Stays the same.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I'll say that
I love you too. Go ahead, Chad.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, when it comes to, I know the questions about having special need kids and just anything, kids, period. They teach you how to value the smallest wins, right? Like a lot of times as we get older, we devalue the gains and the little movements that we make in life, right? But with our kids, you get to kind of re-see how important those little wins are. And how if it wasn't for the little wins, there would be no big win, right? So really the little things are more important than the big things, all right? It takes little bolts to hold up big buildings, okay? And so it just shows you what really is valuable, okay? And, I think my wife said it all. But, I just wanted to insert that about the wins.
I love you.
Well, we appreciate it. You guys are just awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
We ran over normal time, but I don't even care. I'm wondering like, okay, we got to do this time, that time. No. I don't even care. I just sat back and enjoyed the two of you. And again, we have the pleasure of talking to you once we close out.
Yes.
Don't, but we're going to give our viewers a pleasure and bring this couple back again. You guys are dynamic. And I love it. Gina and I too have a son that's on the spectrum, and God promised us that. He said, watch what I do with him. Always was ahead of his peers in school. He always, like, one thing big for a dad, you know, this is my son, he was the first one in the classes to play contact football. I mean, just over and over.
Yeah.
And we just seen the beauty of God in him.
Yes.
He's not moved by much. You know, the only thing that really moved him is growing up with his 2 sisters, but we're not going to get into that. So, but this has been awesome. Again, we have on the screen mybulletproofmarriages.com. Please get in touch with this couple, because I through their wealth of wisdom, the incredible journey that they had. And I hate to say, but this brings us to the end of today's episode. So we want to give you a huge thanks. I keep saying
for having us.
Thank you.
We could have used the clap machine right there. Standing ovation. But you guys just open up and share, and we just see that you're eager to help as many people as you can. So we just thank you. Look for them on all the social media. They have plenty of social media contacts. Just contact them. Contact us, and we'll put you on hold. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. So again, we just thank our viewers for tuning in today from all over the world. We appreciate you. We just love you. Continue to come back. Don't forget to like, to share, subscribe, and tune in to next week's episode. We're you know, Chad Lanell, we're starting a membership, and we just want to keep people to stay encouraged, to get empowered, and to be equipped. And through that, hopefully people will tune in, become a part of it, and it's guests like you that'll keep those things going. So
thank you.
Next time, we'll see you. Be blessed, and thanks again. Y'all hold on, because we got.
Thank you for tuning in to Fire and Life Talk, where Jesus is Lord. If you would like more information,